Hi everyone, welcome to Freedom Facts Season 2. Today's message is going to be heavily rooted in the Word, so please get your Bible out. I want you to follow everything I have to say. If you need a notepad, get a notepad. Today we're going to be going deep into the Word to illuminate some things that God has been showing me. I know one person will be at least delivered by this. If it's you, just get in touch and let me know. I know it's at least one, so holler at me. So, physician, heal thyself, overcoming faith attacks. What do I mean? So we know in the Bible they mocked Jesus by saying, physician, heal. He said that they would mock him by saying, physician, heal thyself. Probably referring to who was on the cross, and they was telling him, if you're God, get down. But I'm going to use this phrase for our purpose today. Physician, heal thyself, overcoming faith attacks. Depending on how long you've been on this road, or as you go on in your journey, you're going to come to a point where you need to learn to diagnose your own issue. And not only are you going to need to learn to diagnose your own issue, you're going to need to get that medication yourself, because no man is going to be able to answer and give you the soothing or comforting or medication that you need for your issue. What do I mean? There's sometimes that a man doesn't have the answer to your problem. Not that God doesn't have put knowledge in men to answer questions, but he's not going to allow any man to give you the answer. You're going to have to diagnose your issue, and you're going to have to self-medicate. Now, in the natural world, self-medication is normally sometimes seen as a bad thing. This is a good thing, because what God is teaching you in this process and this season is ultimately that you can only rely on him. Yes, at times he will use ministers and elders and evangelists and all the parts of the body to help you, but there's gonna come a time when, physician, you're gonna have to heal yourself. You're gonna have to go to God and get the medication, and more importantly than that, you're gonna have to diagnose your issue yourself. There's not going to be anybody who God is going to send to come and tell you. You're going to need to sit down, evaluate your life, your situation, and find out from God the issue and the course of action you need to take in order to get over the problem. Let's get into this now, because we're going to use the word to illustrate this. So if you think about attacks on your life, every attack of the enemy is an attack on your faith. The devil's job is to find new ways to kill your faith. But the flip side of this is that God uses this to build your faith. So it doesn't matter what the attack is or the way in which it comes. The devil is a master of disguise. So he will be attacking you, and you won't realize he's attacking your faith because he's doing it via some other form. Okay, so for example, you would think a simple faith attack is you're believing God for a job, and you maybe don't get it for a while. That's basic. The devil's got better plans than that. The devil will use people to attack your faith. He will bring you into a conversation, maybe with a friend or with a family member, and that person will say something, for example, and that thing that they say will trigger off something in your mind. And for example, say that person says something about something that happened in your past, something that you was fine with, you got over, it was resolved, but then they say something and it causes you to question the answer that God gave you or the resolution you had for that situation. You then start to question that situation, like I said, that you had an answer for, and then you get into a whole conversation in your mind, and the devil just throws in different things to your mind, and then you've hit rock bottom because you've allowed someone to rock your faith through something they've said, and not even knowing that it was an attack on your faith. That maybe sounds convoluted and complicated, but what you need to understand is that when the devil comes to attack, it's very basic. He comes to change your perspective or to change your belief about what God has either said or done. It's in the Bible. Look at Eve. God said, don't touch the tree. Don't eat from the tree. And the devil comes and he convinces Eve through conversation that she should eat because it's going to make her wise and make her like a god. And so he's coming to question your perception of things that God has said and that God has done. And like I said, he can mask the way he does it. It doesn't have to be something as simple, you believe something and it doesn't happen. He can cause past events that you have been delivered from or you have believed God has given you the answer for. He can bring people or different ideas in your head to make you question what you believed was right and okay. Now let's go a bit deeper. Let's look at David now. I love David, and I'm beginning to love David more because David is one of the most human characters we have in the Bible. And yet God still says he's a man after my own heart. I spoke about this in season 1. I'm going to go into a different aspect now. So let's look at 1 Samuel 17, verse 36 and 37. Now at this time David is trying to convince Saul that he should let him fight Goliath. And hear what he says. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defiled the armies of the living God. David said, moreover, the Lord that hath delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, the Lord be with thee. So David, before he had ever fought Goliath, had killed a lion and a bear, and he knew it was God that helped him, and he was saying to Saul, if God's going to help me, kill the lion and the bear, don't worry, I got Goliath. So this is a giant in the faith already. David ain't become king yet. David hasn't done many of the other great things that he would do yet. He's still a young man, but he's a giant in the faith. I've already killed the lion and the bear. This giant ain't nothing for me. Cool. Saul says, alright, God be with you. You seem to know what you're doing. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Seeing that David killed a lion and a bear and was led by God to kill Goliath, why is it so many of his psalms seem to start with him in some kind of distress? Now, when I'm talking about these psalms where he's in distress, I'm not talking about the psalms where he is pleading to God because he's done some sin and he needs deliverance. I'm talking about the psalms post killing Goliath, and he ain't sinned. He ain't, slept with nobody's wife. He ain't killed a man to sleep with his wife. He ain't had no baby out of the situation. We're not talking about that. We're talking about post Goliath. And David is, as far as we know, he hasn't done anything specifically wrong. Why is he in distress so many times? This is a giant in faith. He done killed a bear. He done killed a lion. He killed Goliath. Why would a man like that ever find himself in such a distressful state? And what do I mean by that? Get your Bibles now. Let's go to Psalms 142. And it says, a contemplation of David, a prayer when he was in the cave. This could have been when he was in cave Adullam or in Gedi. But it's at this time he's asking, or he's speaking to God about distress because of his enemies. We know that David was told he was going to be king, but that Saul still was in position, and then Saul turned on him and started chasing him. So hear what David's saying now. I cry out to the Lord with my voice. With my voice to the Lord I make my supplication. I'm reading New King James. I pour out my complaint before him. I declare before him my trouble. When my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then you knew my path. In the way in which I walk, they have secretly set a snare for me. Look on my right hand and see, for there is no one who acknowledges me. Refuge has failed me. No one cares for my soul. Let's stop there at verse 4. David is a man who always had he had support around him. He had some guys around him, especially in Cave Adullam. They were saying a lot of people joined him. But at this time, he finds no consolation in these people. And even in Job, we find that his friends were miserable comforters. They didn't help him. And David was saying, hey, look on my right hand and see. There is no one who can even recognize, acknowledge me. What's he saying? No one is going to understand what I'm going through. Refuge has failed me. No one cares for my soul. And there comes a time when you just look at people and you're just like, you don't even understand. You don't get it. You don't care. Now, you can't fall into the trap of blaming people for not understanding. Sometimes God allows people to not understand what you're going through because he's drawing you into him. He's saying, listen, you need to understand what I went through when I was in the flesh. Who could console Jesus? Who could console Jesus? God in the flesh. Who could understand leaving glory to come and be a man? You think Peter and John and the man could tell him anything that's going to console him? You don't understand. You don't know what I left. You don't know what I can do right now. You don't know that when everything that you see was created, I was there. How are you going to console him? And so, in suffering with Christ, we reign with him. You will never understand the mind of Christ unless you suffer like him. So he has to allow you to go through a time where it seems that no one can console you. Let's go to 5. I cried out to you, O Lord. I said, you are my refuge, my portion in the land of the living. Attend unto my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. Wait there, hold on a minute. This is the same brother that killed Goliath. He killed the lion and the bear, and he says, deliver me from my persecutors, they're stronger than I. Attend unto my cry. Oh, he's weak. David's weak. Yeah, he's weak. He's human. But what does he do? He turns and he goes unto God and says, listen, you are my refuge. You know? Deliver me from my persecutors. Then he says in 7, bring my soul out of prison, that I may praise your name. The righteous shall surround me, for you shall deal bountifully with me. And this is going to bring me on to my next point. The reason why a lot of David's psalms start in distress and end with him praising and almost prophesying his deliverance, because he'd been somewhere with God. He's got experience. Now, had he not been in a situation where he needed God, he wouldn't have been able to speak with such passion and such fervor about how God was going to deliver him. Let's go to Psalms 143. Because we're going to deal with how David uses experience to bring him out of trouble. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Give ear to my supplications. In your faithfulness, answer me. And in your righteousness, do not enter into judgment with your servant. For in your sight, no one is righteousness. What's he saying to God? God, don't judge me right now. Don't look at me now and take my situation and make your final judgment on me, because God, no one is righteous in front of you anyway. But Lord, especially not now. Do not make a judgment on who I am and where I am. Let me just read a quick summary of this. It says, David again is beset by enemies, and again he knows whom he must turn to. After addressing the Lord in verses 1 and 2, he pours out his lament. In 3 to 6, he recalls God's help in former distresses. In 5, he offers petition to the only one who can correct the matter. 6 to 12, the pressing nature of his request is revealed clearly. And in the 11 entreaties to God in the final 6 verses. So let's read some more of this. For the enemy has persecuted my soul. He has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me dwell in darkness like those who have long been dead. Therefore my spirit is overwhelmed within me, and my heart within me is distressed. This is a giant man of faith. Remember I said this is post the lion, post the bear, post Goliath. Yet David finds himself spiritually dead. He said, he has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me to dwell in darkness like those who have long been dead. But hear this, hear 5 now. Oh, David ain't gonna stay there. Because David been somewhere with God. This is why you need to go somewhere with God. Because when you go somewhere with God, you can bring your past experiences back to the forefront of your mind and you can call upon him. Physician, heal thyself. You can't call on no man to tell you about your experiences. A man can come and tell you, your pastor can come and tell you, your bishop can come and tell you some nice things, but there's going to come a time when you're going to have to call on God for yourself and get the medication for yourself. And that's going to be in the word, and it's going to be in your experiences. Verse 5, I remember the days of old. I meditate on all your works. I muse on the work of your hands. I'm looking at it and I'm meditating on, I remember you did deliver me that time. I remember you did save me. I remember when you healed my mom. I remember when you healed my dad. I spread out my hands to you. My soul longs for you like a thirsty land. Selah. So we're going to pause. I spread out my hands to you. My soul longs for you like a thirsty land. Let's pause. So he's like, hold on a minute. Let me take some time and remember all of the goodness. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Forget not all his benefits. Don't forget what he's done for you. You're going to have to go somewhere with God for you to be able to bring back these experiences to the forefront of your mind. So when you are running away from troubles and trials, when you are running away from experiences with God, you are basically delaying the process of you getting to the point where God can take you through the test, where only you are going to be able to pull yourself out by going to God and listening and meditating and being able to heal yourself or to self-medicate. No, you're not healing yourself as in you're the healer, but you are the one who is actually starting the process of healing. It's not anyone laying hands. It's not you having to go to the bishop, because remember, and I'm not trying to take away the importance of church. If you've listened to me talk before, you know you need to be under a ministry and you need elders and saints. But I'm saying Jesus died so you can have a relationship with him. Jesus died so you can go to him and find a way out of trouble. If David was always running to someone to get help, or people could always help him, you wouldn't have the Psalms. Anyway, answer me speedily, O Lord, my spirit fails. Do not hide your face from me, lest I be like those who go down into the pit. Cause me to hear your loving kindness in the morning, for in you I do trust. Cause me to know the way in which I should walk, for I lift up my soul to you. Deliver me, O Lord, from my enemies. In you I take shelter. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Your spirit is good. Lead me in the land of uprightness. Revive me, O Lord, for your name's sake, for your righteousness' sake. Bring my soul out of trouble. David is saying, bring me, he said, I'm dead. But he's saying, make me alive for your name's sake, God. Lord, because I've walked in your name, because I've loved people in your name, Lord, because I've done your will, because I've been obedient, Lord, for people, for my friends to see your righteousness, Lord, bring my soul back alive. Don't let my enemies laugh at me. Don't let my friends say, oh, that the God you serve is a liar, or you are crazy, and that's why we didn't follow you. No, God, for your name's sake, because I've been standing on your word, make me alive. In your mercy, cut off my enemies and destroy all those who afflict my soul. Then he says at the end, for I am your servant. I love the way he finished it. He said, no, hold on a minute. Let me remind you, God, I work for you. I'm your servant. So you've got to deal with my enemies for me. You can't allow me to be embarrassed. You see the relationship you have to have had and have with God to even say these things with him? There's a reason why David can talk to God like this. Well, he can say, he can write it, remember, I work for you. I work for the devil. He's been somewhere with God. He's killed a lion. He's killed a bear. He's killed Goliath. So now when he's got to a situation where no man can help, he can talk to God on a level, as you would say. And God can pay respect unto him because God has been there for him before. And David is relying on him and understanding his human weakness enough to go to God again. Because if David was trying to gather an army and trying to gather up men, that means he didn't rely on God. He got to a stage where he realized there's sometimes when a man can't help me. There's sometimes when horses and chariots and all those type things can't help me. I just got to believe in the name of God. I got to believe in God. Let me finish this up now. James 1 verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, in whom there is no variableness or shadow of turning. This is what I love about God. Wherever you find yourself, God looks the same. No variableness or shadow of turning. Wherever I move left, I move right, God is still the same. And he still looks the same. Imagine walking around someone and every angle, nothing about them changes. You don't get to see their backside. All you see is their face all the time. You walk around them and all you see is the same thing. This is how God is. He's the same from every position you find yourself in life. He is the same. And he's offering the same mercies and grace. You don't believe me? Let's go to Psalms 139. This is why I love me some David. Look at this now. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my sitting down and my uprising. You understand my thoughts afar off. You comprehend my path, my laying down. You are acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word on my tongue, but behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You have hedged me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Now, what is David saying in the first couple of verses? This is the comparative attributes of God. He's contrasting human ability with divine nature. So I like it says here, everyone has some knowledge, but only God has all knowledge. This is omniscience. Everyone has presence, but only God has presence. At all times, everywhere, omnipresent. Every person has some degree of power, but only God has unlimited power, omnipotence. Now let's see this further demonstrated. So he says in verse 5, so he's saying how God can comprehend his path, God's acquainted with his ways, God knows every word that's going to be on his tongue. He says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It's too high. I can't attain it. I don't understand. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, you are there. You see what I'm saying? Wherever you go, whatever you're doing, no matter how bad the situation is, God knows your heart. He knows what's in your mind. You can't hide from him. Because if you're high, he's there. If you're low, he's there. No shadow of turning, no variableness. It doesn't matter where you find yourself. He knows. Even there, if I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall fall on me, even the night shall be a light about me. Indeed, the darkness shall not be hid from you. But the night shines as the day, and the darkness and the light are both alike to you. For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth, your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed. And in your book they are all written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. The days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. So before you even put the days, you worked out a plan for my life. Before people was been able to record time and create calendars and set years, you formed and fashioned me before any of this world was here. Doesn't the Bible say that we were predestinated? We were in the mind of Christ before the world began? How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. When I awake, I'm still with you. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, you bloodthirsty men, for they speak against you wickedly. Your enemies take your name in vain. Now watch David now, again reminding God of who he is. Do I not hate them, O Lord, who hate you? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties. And if there is any wicked way in me, lead me into the way of the everlasting. So David again is saying to God, listen, I work for you. Me and you, we're on the same path. We're on the same mindset. I hate your enemies. I work for you, but yet he finds himself in distress. So David here is like, God, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling so bad? Yet I am on your side. Why have I found myself in distress? Yet I work for you. Yet I hate the things you hate. This is big bad Goliath killing, lion killing David. And we have to remember that we are human. And no matter how many great feats of faith we have walked in and we have found victory in, the devil's job is to attack your faith. This is why the Bible says, building up your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost. Above all, take the shield of faith. Fight the good fight of faith, the good fight of belief. Every attack. So it doesn't matter what you've achieved in God, the devil is trying to devise a new way to attack your faith. Remember I talked about your leaders are not supermen. No one is a superman. Elijah called down fire, sliced up, or was it about 400 false prophets, and the next day he wanted to commit suicide. The devil is always devising a new way, and because he doesn't attack your faith in a way that you are used to, it can sometimes take you from a pinnacle and throw you right back down to rock bottom because you didn't see the attack coming. That is his job, my friends. The devil's job is to devise a way to attack your faith in a way that you cannot predict. Because guess what? If you can predict it, you can block it. Because you got the shield of faith. You got the shield of faith. The shield of faith is blocking everything, blocking everything, blocking everything. And then one day, a fiery dart gets around the shield. Because you didn't see it. The devil took up a new sniper position and you didn't see. And it got into your back. And at that time, ain't no man can tell you nothing. Because once you've been certain ways with God, there's some things that people say that's just not going to help you. Unless they're in your situation, because at the end of the day, we walk an individual walk. So there's going to come times in that walk that no man is going to be able to deliver you through his word or through his maybe direct prayer. Yes, the body of Christ is always praying. But you, physician, are going to have to go to God and get your medication. But first of all, you're going to have to diagnose, how did the devil find a way? Because I have so much, my shield of faith is so big. How did he find a way under that shield? And that's when you're going to have to do what David done. You're going to have to call on your past experiences. You're going to have to find yourself and in prayer, building up your most holy faith. You're going to have to go to God by yourself. You're going to have to, as the song says, away from the noise so you can hear from God. You can't hear God when there's too much people saying too much stuff. And people have good intentions sometimes, but they're not saying what you need to hear because you, physician, need to heal yourself. You need to go to God and find out what he has to say to you and what he has for you. You have to remember, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. You are going to have to find a quiet time, a quiet place to meditate on the word and to hear from God. Sometimes God just wants you to listen to him. Not a whole heap of talking. Sometimes it's not a whole heap of praying in the moment. Sometimes you just need to initiate a conversation through some praise, through some worship, some devotion, and God just wants to speak something to you. If you go anywhere on this path with God, there's gonna come a time where, physician, you're gonna have to heal yourself. You're gonna have to overcome the attack on your faith. And when you begin to recognize that every attack is ultimately an attack on your faith, it will speed up the healing process. It will speed up the freedom process. Because you know what? My pastor's good. My bishop is good. My evangelist is good. But in fact, in this situation, you can't help me. Because it's not always going to be you're going to be around people. It's not always going to be you can make a phone call. So what God is teaching you is ultimate dependence on you. Think of David. Think of how deep his relationship with God was, that he could always go back to past experiences, to past deliverances, to past triumphs. He could always meditate on that when he found himself in distress. Because he was in distress and he did hit rock bottom. But he was able to pull himself out of that situation because he had been somewhere with God. This is why the scripture says, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. You got to understand that it is through the trials and tests and through the sometimes battering and beating that your faith is increased and your faith is built up for the next trial. Because had David not had that great start with the lion and the bear, with Goliath, he would have nothing to call on when Saul had him in a cave. So you have to understand that the current test that has maybe thrown you to rock bottom is not even the real test. It is the experience. It is the faith-producing trial that will give you the substance and the evidence of things hoped for to push you through what you're going through next and what is to come. That's all I have to say today, my brothers and sisters. Take care. I hope you got something from this. Be blessed. Stay close to Christ.